Life with me, Gina Marie. Today, Swedish Meatballs. Joining me, my dear friend and co-creator, Karen Asher. Thank you, Karen. This wonderful Swedish meatball recipe you gave me was a start because I never made these before. So I looked online and I checked out a bunch of recipes and took yours, and I came up with my own. I'll let you know the differences, and I have to say yours looks great. Thanks for sharing. And I think they look yummy. Look at how many meatballs you made. I probably made half of them. Oh, and you baked yours. I fried mine. Look how lovely over rice. Swedish meatballs. Excellent, Karen. Let me show you what I did now. I used nutmeg and allspice, but I started with a 1/4 cup of milk, and I poured it into 2/3 a cup of panko breadcrumbs. I changed it up instead of the regular breadcrumbs. Sometimes you got to use what you got on hand. I had on hand a meatloaf mix. Yep, pork and beef, and I've got some salt and pepper together with other spices, the allspice and the nutmeg. I have flour for the gravy later. But I poured that milk into that breadcrumbs, and I'm going to let that sit. There's my pound. It's a little over a pound. Karen used 2 pounds, but I only have me and Michael to feed, so I use less meat. I'm going to start by putting about 1 to 2 tablespoons of butter in my favorite Calphalon pan with an onion chopped very fine. Then I'm going to add the salt, pepper, nutmeg, and allspice. I'm going to tell you, it smells so good when that spice hits that onion in there. We're going to end up cooking this soft and nice and set it aside. Meanwhile, I'm going to add a little salt and pepper. I'm going to add my egg. Get all my ingredients together. I took the onions and the butter out of the pan. I'm letting them cool now. And I'm adding all the ingredients. The wet panko breadcrumbs, the egg, salt, pepper, into my ground meat mix. And then I'll add the cool onion mix and mix it real good and make my meatballs. But being Italian, and I'm a big meatball maker, I think I made mine too big. Karen had the right idea. Next time I make this, I will definitely try to make smaller ones. I guess I try to make less work for myself, but in the long run, I think it would be better to have smaller. Swedish meatballs are supposed to be small, Gina. In that same pan that I had the onions in, I'm going to put those meatballs, and I'm going to fry mine. Karen put hers in the oven, which is fine, and it is usually the way I make my meatballs. But I was watching a couple videos, and I saw them getting fried up, so I thought I'd give it a go. I found it very hard with these. They were sticking. I had to keep moving them. My onions seemed to start getting too brown. They never really burnt bad enough to throw it out, but they got a little browner than I wanted. So I'm continuing to watch them carefully and add the raw ones into the pan to keep it level there and keep them browned. They're not going to get cooked thoroughly. They don't have to. They just need to be browned all the way around. We're going to put them back in the sauce in this same pan once I get them all fried up here. Karen had the right idea in the oven. That's usually the way I make my meatballs. But you do get a lot of flavor this way, too. The onions, I really have to watch because I'm looking at them getting a little too brown here. So I'm moving them around a little more than I normally would. With that, pieces are falling off. I'm just going to eat that one. They're so good. I realize at this point, I should have baked them. But there they are. They held together pretty well. A couple fell apart. I ate the pieces that fell off. They were good. And we're going to take that same pan, throw the butter and in there, and just kind of whisk it around with some flour. See the dark onion bits? I don't like that, but I'm adding my chicken broth. Karen used vegetable broth. I'm using a couple cups of chicken broth, and I added cayenne pepper. So I get a nice color. There's my cream. You can use heavy cream, half and half. You can use milk. You can use sour cream. People do it all different. You put the meatballs back in. You cover it up, and about 15-20 minutes of just simmering, they're ready to eat. Sorry I didn't show you a finished picture. We ate too quick, but I did manage to get a version of Karen and my Swedish meatball recipe down. I would say go with Karen's. I forgot the soy sauce in my gravy. Karen used vegetable stock. I used panko breadcrumbs. She used fresh parsley. I used dry parsley. I did throw some dry parsley in there. 2 eggs, no yolk, opposed to my 1 egg. I'm sure she used the spices I did, pretty much. She didn't forget her soy. Great job, Karen. I think I'll go with your recipe next time. That one's going to be my staple Swedish meatball recipe. Yours looked great. Thank you. There it is by Karen Asher. She's the star of the Swedish meatball recipe tryout here. I did love it. It tasted great. Thank you so much, Karen, for joining me. This recipe sure shows that many variations with ingredients can be made for this. Both Karen and I came up with our own, and they were both good. Thanks for being my co-creator, Karen. Strive to be happy.